over to you.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to tell you a bit more about specific programs that we have from the capacity building unit to empower ISO's underrepresented stakeholders. That will be my first presentation, and in a second presentation I will tell you more about other programs that we are conducting with the capacity building unit. So this one is really more focused on underrepresented stakeholders. So first I will put our action into the context, the strategic context of capacity building unit, then the two specific programs that we have that enables us to support underrepresented stakeholders. Talking about the text, ISO strategy was already presented yesterday by Silvio, but I just would like to highlight that it's not only the capacity building unit that is contributing to All Voices Heard. We have a whole sustainability program that is also working on this matter. So we have what we call the ISO Action Plan for Developing Countries. And why do we have this specific action plan? It is, as you can see, that 75% of the ISO members are from developing countries. So to ensure all voices heard, to ensure the relevance of ISO international standards, we have this 5-year program to strengthen our ISO member, to encourage them, not to encourage, but to support them in terms of participation and in the promotion of standards. So this is what we would like to achieve with the implementation of the action plan. It is by strengthening our ISO members and their stakeholders so that they can better contribute to the ISO system and the benefit from ISO standards. To achieve that, we have two main outcomes that we could summarize. First, in the increased use of standards, and the second aspect is related to the participation in ISO. Now, if we go more specifically on the different programs that we have to support the participation of different stakeholders, last year we have conducted the second mentorship program. So what is it about, this COPOLCO capacity building mentorship program? First, we start with training to develop the skills and the knowledge of the participants on the value of standards and on stakeholder engagement. The participants are composed of an NSP representative involved on consumer matters and a consumer representative appointed by the NSP. Then, after the training, they will start working on a national work plan. This is an opportunity to analyze the situation in the country, to better engage with consumers, identify the gaps, and then they will develop a work plan with the support of the mentor. It is important to note that this national team is not only composed by the ones that attended the training. These are the ones that benefited from the training, but then the national team that will work on this work plan can be expanded, of course, with all the relevant stakeholders. What we would like to achieve with this program is really to enhance the collaboration amongst the NSB and the consumer representative, so that the value and the relevance of specific standards that are of specific interest for consumers is better understood. Another area that we provide support to different stakeholders is the ISO sponsorship program. This is more to support our ISO members from developing countries to participate in the standards development. There are other programs that we can mention. One is about the support for new work item proposal coming from developing countries. There is a group of experts that is helping, supporting the project leader for the development and the submission of the proposal. And we also have several trainings on standards development process that is provided virtually and that is open to anyone with the relevant role, including, of course, consumers. Last but not least, we have the ISO Digital Learning Platform. This is open for all our ISO members and their stakeholders involved in standardization, which means that they are registered in the global directory. So this is open for everyone. If we go a little bit more into details of the sponsorship program, we have three different types of sponsorship. One that we call the ISO project, one the ISO member choice, and one is the ISO leadership. These programs are really there to support the participation in the technical work. If we start with the ISO member choice, this one is provided to anyone involved, any member of the National Mirror Committee, and you need to be a committee member at the international level, so registered again in the global directory. This means this is something that consumer representatives could benefit if they are actively participating in the development of the standards. We have launched recently the ISO Leadership Sponsorship Program. This is more specific for not managers, but officers that will hold a specific role in ISO development of the development of ISO standards, like namely committee manager, chairs, convener, or project leaders. So this is what it covers. We cover the costs when to participate and attend the training. You need to contact, if you are a consumer, you need to contact your NSB, and the request has to be made by the NSB to ISO. Finally, we have the ISO project sponsorship. This is not for any kind of project. This is limited to projects related mostly to climate change and trade. The project sponsorship covers the whole development, the whole cycle of the project. And again, this time it's not for the NSP, this is for all stakeholder groups or experts from different stakeholder groups, of course, including consumers. And again, the coverage and the process is the same. When we talk about the beneficiaries of capacity building activities, as you can see, most of the beneficiaries are from NSP representatives, followed by the private sectors and then government, and consumers are 2% in yellow. What we encourage when we provide training on stakeholder engagement or when we do the COPOLCO mentorship program is really to have this discussion amongst the NSP and the consumer representative. What are the specific TCs and SC where you are interested in? What are the specific standards that could be of interest for consumers? It's not like all the standards are of interest for consumers. And how to engage consumer organization on national level in national committees. So this is what we are really trying to do through the mentorship program and also with the stakeholder engagement. Key messages that we want the NSP, we encourage the NSP to spread to consumers is really the value of standards, of products confirming to standards are safe, good quality, and provide key product information. There is also the compatibility, of course, with other products, the consumer protection, the basis for regulation. We will talk about that in my second presentation. The compliance of products with standards to be verified through testing, and standards in the area of metrology. What to expect from capacity building support in the rest of the year and for next year. Hopefully we will launch a new mentorship program for a new region. We know that, you probably know that we operate region after region. We have 7 regions that are defined by the DEFCO, and all the 7 regions and all members have the same opportunities. So we cannot do everything at the same time, but we go one after another. Also, we hope that there will be more consumers that will benefit from one of the sponsorship projects, and hopefully next year we can again contribute with some capacity building activities connected to the COPOLCO plenary. Here is where you can find more information or resources on what I just presented. Thank you very much for your attention, and Maybe the best is that I directly jump into the whole program that we covered last year, and then we take the questions together. Is it okay?
Thank you, Patrick. Let's open the floor for questions. I see BSI, please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you, Chair, for suggesting questions now, because it's a lot to take in at the moment, and we have space to focus on this bit and then respond. I would just, as a host of next year, I would just like to ask a few questions and suggestions. How COPOLCO, and particularly working group 23, capacity building can help at this point correlate and work with your program to make sure that we get the maximum impact and effect and maximum benefits for the people who will be sponsored, both NSB and consumer, working together equally, each educating and advising each other. I have a short question about statistics. Statistics, of course. When you say 2%, is this representing purely the momentum program? Is it 2%, or is this 2% nominated by NSB to attend some sort of ISO meeting? So it would be interesting, because if we, for particularly working group 3, because if we can find out where the consumers from developing countries are attending the meetings, this indicates a priority for the consumers from the country, from the developing country context. I also just make a comment. Of course, consumers as a whole are underrepresented, whether from developing countries, least developed countries, and COPOLCO's like reflecting 70% of developing country members as a whole. And of course, we are not seeing very strong representation from the consumer organizations around the world. And this will be interesting to reflect on for the future consideration of ISO's ambition to have our voices heard, particularly in consumer context, because we are very low all over. But I'm just speaking to working 23 as well as making a comment. Of course, your work is focused rightly on the developing countries participating in COPOLCO. And these countries may have different priorities in each case, depending on their national perspective. So I was thinking we should in future consider a COPOLCO survey or initiative to find out what the consumers from these developing countries, you have the list, what they see as their priorities. Because the whole of COPOLCO Global may not, we don't want to override the importance of developing nations who may be focused on some other priorities given the different economic and cultural situation and geographic situation. So this is just a comment for our work to help you, and working group 23, maybe Sorrel can comment, because we are talking very much about priorities. We don't you must not forget, each country has different priorities, and developing countries have specific needs, and we must strive to make sure consumers in this country are given a voice. Thank you.
Patrick? Patrick, would you
Absolutely.
mind if I just intervene you before you answer? Now, it's our pleasure that we have Eric Kieki, who is Director of Capacity Building Unit and also Secretary of DevCo. He's in online right now. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Moon. It's a pleasure to join you for this meeting, and greetings to everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Patrick, please.
Yep. Thank you very much for your questions. So I will answer as clearly as possible, and if I forgot something important, please don't hesitate to come back. So the 2% consumer representative benefiting from capacity building activities, yes, it's 2% from the developing countries, and it's only linked to the capacity building activities last year. Then how do we collaborate or match what we have and what we are doing under the ISO action plan and what is Working Group 23 doing? So I am a member of Working Group 23, so I know what the program is, and we collaborate with our colleagues from the Casco COPOLCO team, and then we indeed have to discuss together on how ISO capacity building can contribute within the framework of the action plan from developing countries. So what we do for the COPOLCO Working Group 23, for example, the mentorship program is something under the COPOLCO Working Group 23, but it is also directly contributing to our action plan for developing countries. So we see what we can do together with, of course, within the limit of our resources and the different needs expressed by the countries from developing countries. So that's where two, there were certainly more, but yeah, that I already said, but so it's only about the capacity building activities and only developing countries benefiting from capacity building. Yeah.
BIS, please.
Namaskar, good morning, I'm Jambo from the Indian delegation. Mr. Patrick, I have a suggestion as well as a question. So can I come with a question first? So question is, how in the capacity building programs conducted by ISO, how do you assess the effectiveness of the training?
Very much. That is indeed a very important element, because we apply resource-based management. So we assess at many different levels. So we assess after every activity. We ask the participants. We also do an external evaluation. So we report every year on our activities where we can also analyze in terms of output and outcome of what we are doing and what we have achieved. And then we have also an audit, an external audit of our 5-year activities under the 5-year action plan. So it's really at activity level, at a yearly level, at the program level that we measure the success of our activities.
So what is the success rate, sir?
Which one?
Of the training. NCBs.
So
Okay.
if you want, I will, in the next presentation, you
Thank
will
you.
have a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
of,
good. And
so
one-
you have
yeah, one suggestion, like you said, 169 members, that is 75% are from developing countries. So like we were talking yesterday, I would like to inform you that BIS is having a very good national training institute. Already we are training people, more than 100 participants from developing countries. I would request COPOLCO chair to consider my request for collaboration with NSBs for capacity building programs.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a very important information. It's not only the ISO capacity building that is providing capacity building. Thankfully, many members have a strong capacity building unit for national experts and also international experts, and thank you for that.
And Adrian, please.
Yeah, I would like to complement what Patrick said regarding evaluation of the capacity building program. So for example, in the mentorship program in 2019, in the first day of this plenary, we had a post-mortem and follow-up of that capacity building program to see what were the benefits of that. Fast forward 2023, we had this mentorship program in Latin America, and the evaluation, immediate evaluation of the mentorship program, the effects were the national work plans that were submitted by the mentees to the project management of that program. We do plan to have another post-mortem a few years down the road to see what were the fruits of that mentorship program. So this is what Patrick was saying, that each activity is evaluated and the whole program periodically is being evaluated.
Okay, any other questions from floors? And okay, then Patrick, would you please present the second
Sure.
one?
So the second presentation that we will, I will present is more, it's broader. It's more about the whole delivery of capacity building in 2023. However, I have also selected the most relevant programs for this audience. So there is much more than what I will present. Yep, you can pass if it is. Thank you. I was suddenly scared that it was not the right. Thank you very much. So if we go to the agenda of the presentation. Thank you very much. So again, it's important to put the strategic context, especially.
Recording in progress.
Right. Especially not everyone attended the first session on Tuesday. The importance of the needs assessment survey for how we conduct our program, the key achievement in 23, the sponsorship program, and the training services that is open for all ISO members. So now you are all familiar with the ISO strategy, the all voices heard, the importance of strengthening ISO members by capacity building unit. Just to know that the DEFCO is the policy committee that is responsible for the implementation no, capacity building is responsible for the implementation of the APDC, but we report to the DEFCO. How capacity building operates, and that will again a bit echo the discussion that we had. We have regular surveys to identify the needs and the priorities from the countries that we serve, and it helps us to develop our annual work plan. We apply the result-based management system to trace the logic of our intervention, to ensure also through indicators that we are going in the right direction and the expected outcomes are achieved or not. It's not 100% success. We have different capacity building tools and delivery methods, like of course workshop and training, but we have also a strong e-learning program. We also provide mentorship. And as we said earlier, we are always trying to do better. We pay really great attention to the feedbacks that we received after every training, because as indicated, every member from developing country will receive the same training. So when we start with one region, we read the feedbacks so that we ensure that we can do better for the other beneficiaries of the same program. And we don't provide these activities and program alone. We collaborate with many different organizations and external experts on the specific topics. So talking a bit more about this needs assessment survey that we conduct almost on a yearly basis. The last two were conducted in 22 and 23, and it is important to highlight the standards under the people, planet, prosperity. The special focus was put on this element, like which standards under the 3P are key priority for your countries. It was also, there were also open questions to make sure that we will capture future and emerging needs. So I just would like to highlight with this slide that in terms of new emerging needs, they are on various topics, on technology, on governance, on energy, on water, but please pay attention to two topics that can be of consumer-related area interest, one on sustainable procurement and production, and one on consumer health and safety and policy. Now, what we have achieved in 2020, what we have done and achieved in 2023, so we have 6 intermediate outcomes. I will not cover all of them. I will only cover a selection of them that is of interest for us. I mentioned the importance of the standards under the 3P. That was the result of the last 2 surveys that we conducted. So a few, sorry, I have an echo, it's very difficult. I'm sorry, yeah. Is it possible to stop the echo? There is an echo.
Maybe it's on the other thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. That is much better. Sorry about that. So As a result of the last two surveys, we really had strong inputs on the needs on specific standards under the people, planet, and prosperity. And we have developed and launched last year a very big program on standards for sustainability. The purpose of this program is really to develop a pool of national experts that will then be in a position to develop skills and knowledge on what are these specific standards about, and also to promote these standards and to raise awareness on how these standards are contributing to the UN SDGs. On the second intermediate outcome is about the good standardization practice. Here we have put a great amount of effort and energy on e-learning that was launched last year on good standardization practice. This was done in collaboration with UNIDO. We have also started developing a course on an e-learning course on stakeholder engagement. It will be launched in October or November. And then we have also developed and published a publication on a competency framework for standards development professionals that provides insights and tools for those involved in the standards development process to remain adaptable and responsive in this ever-changing world. Just a few words on this digital learning platform. It's really a tool that helps us to improve the accessibility to different, to the ISO members and the stakeholders. And it's also something that can be used on blended learning. Like we can start with content on the digital learning platform, and then we can follow up with on-site specific training. So this is very useful from a capacity building perspective. And then it is also, the platform is updated and feeded with new content all the time. So it's really a very dynamic tool. Lastly, the participation in ISO technical work and the ISO system. So there is the sponsorship program. I will not cover that again, but you might be interested in terms of figures. It is to be highlighted that this covers 23, which was the first year after the COVID. So it was the first time we could start again with on-site meetings. So there is no surprise that the ISO member choice sponsorship is the one that is the most commonly used. We are also very happy with the uptake of the leadership program that is new, but it's there is a good demand, and the project sponsorship cannot be directly compared with the member choice because it's only for specific topics selected TCs. But this is a very good program, working very well. Now, as I said, capacity building is not only for developing countries, it's for all ISO members. However, it's important to note that the representatives from developing countries are also attending these trainings on committee manager, user administrator, the leading ISO work, which is for chairs and conveners. Again, a few words about the e-learning, because it is something, as I said, that is very dynamic. So a few models that could be of interest for our audience is, of course, the one on good standardization practice, the Guide 84 for addressing climate change, and the gender responsive standards. It's really important to ensure the representativity to support underrepresented stakeholders and categories in the development of standards. What we are working on currently and will hopefully come this year, the e-learning on international standardization work, that will be extremely interesting. It's been very complex. So that will come probably again after the summer. There is an e-learning course on the fundamentals of conformity assessment and an overview of the Casco toolbox, and the one on stakeholder engagement that I mentioned earlier. A few highlights and upcoming. There is the toolkit on standards and public policy. That's the uptake of standards at the macro level by policymakers. It's a toolkit it's a framework on how international standards can support policymakers and regulators in preparing, adopting, and applying policy, and in particular the technical regulation. As you know, according to the WTO and TBT agreement, it is essential that governments use international standards to develop technical regulation to avoid technical barriers to trade. This toolkit will be used to provide guidance on good regulatory practice, including the use of international standards to develop public policy and technical regulation. And we will provide a workshop on how to use this guidance. There is a very interesting study, like the, societal benefit of ISO standards program. You may know the methodology on the economical benefit of standards at the macro and the micro level. So this one complements, because it's not to measure the economical benefits of standards, but the societal benefits of ISO standards. This is based on case studies. The LDC program that was mentioned 2 days ago, it's conducted over several years, and now we are on the phase 3 with a midterm workshop taking place next week, I think. We will also start the trainings on the food safety standards as part of the Standard for Sustainability program. We are also finalizing the project on economic benefit of standards, but this one is for specifically for developing countries. We launched the ISO DevCo Smart Working Group that is really, also, again, specific for developing countries, how they are affected with the SMART program. And the e-learning on international standardization that will be launched after the summer. As I said, DevCo is the policy committee that is following our work, and how can you interact and contribute to the DevCo. The virtual strategic coffee was, I think it just happened 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry about that. But of course, as we said the other day, now we are in a phase where we are starting to get insight and feedbacks for the development of the new action plan, we will conduct regular workshops. The next one will be during the annual meeting, and we will have online sessions with the different regions. To finish with this presentation, just to give you a few figures on the beneficiaries and who benefited from capacity building activity. Last year, we had 1,300 participants from 101 different ISO members. This is interesting to note that it's a slight increase from 2022. And we had 86% satisfaction rate. Thank you very much, and happy to take any question.
Thank you, Patrick. It's very good chance that we are with Director of Capacity Building Unit and also Project Manager of CBU. So this must be a very good chance that we have a good discussion with them. Although we don't have full of times, but I don't want to miss this great chance. So please be free to ask questions or do discussion. And Eric, you can make any time intervention, please. Yes, Annette, please.
Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. It's been a great overview. I have a very detailed question. It's amazing to see sort of the statistics and all the information that you give us. But one thing that comes to my mind is what is the amount of money that is actually used last year, for example, for these initiatives. It gives, money is not always in itself that important, but at least to me it will give an additional indication on what actually is done, what the resources are put in. Thank you.
Yes, very good question. Sorry, I did not cover that as effect, but from the top of my head, and Eric can correct if I'm wrong, but...
Eric is ready to respond to that.
All right. I knew it.
Eric? We cannot hear you somehow. Sorry, can you hear us? Because we cannot hear you.
We recently completed our annual report for 2023. So last year, the amount that we spent on overall capacity building support under the action plan for developing countries was just over 2.6 million Swiss franc. And the funding that we get for capacity building comes from a blend of funds. The first one is internal and external funds, so we do get funding from our members. All our members are encouraged every year when we send out the membership fee letters to contribute 4% of their membership fees to funds and trust. So funds and trust is a voluntary contribution from members to capacity building, and that is very much used for the funding around the sponsorship program that Patrick discussed earlier. We also get allocations from the council, and that makes up about 50% of the funding that we get for capacity building. The rest is made up from external funds, mostly from national government donors. For the past few years, SIDA, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, has been a very firm supporter of ISA's capacity building activities. So we get funds from SIDA, and the SIDA funds are very much used, for the COPOLCO mentorship program that Patrick spoke about earlier. We also get funds from other donors. This year, we've received funds from the government of Australia. We've received funds from some of the international partners like UNIDO that we have. We also get funds from our member in Korea, the Korean Ministry of Trade and Industry. So there's a variety of external funds that we tap into. And then I think, as Patrick tried to show with the presentation that he just had on our activities in 2023, that the magic is always to use the strategic framework that's set by DEFCO. We invest a lot in reaching out to our members. We are there to support our developing country members, understanding their needs and priorities. So it's always trying to bring that together with the resources that we have and put that into our annual action plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Any further question? I have two, so who's the first?
We have two in the room, and then we have one online.
Online, so would you please?
Okay, thank you for your nice presentation. My first question is that regarding the ISO support on ISO member choices. It said that only 5 meetings are allowed, sponsored by ISO. What is the reason just limiting the number of meetings to 5 per year? Why not? It can be 10 or 15, according to their choice, their necessity. It is not good for me to just limiting only 5 meetings per year. The other question is that regarding the upcoming and current initiatives, just the ISO is on the process of finalizing the economic benefit of standards in developing countries. How just this activity is accomplished? Because there are more than 25,000 standards. Each standard has its own benefit, specific benefit, and each standard has even specific benefits per each nations or countries. And how to generalize and just giving a single result regarding the analysis of the economic benefit of standards in developing countries. Thank you.
Eric, you want to answer or Patrick?
Yeah, Eric has the hand
Eric,
raised.
please.
Chair, yes, thank you. I'm very happy to jump in on those two questions, so thank you for that. The first question around the sponsorship opportunities, the sponsorship is actually an exception to the general ISO rules that members should fund themselves and their experts to participate in technical committee activities. So it is a very special arrangement. The number of slots are very much informed by the funding that we get from members for the sponsorship program. As I mentioned, we every year ask members to make a voluntary contribution to the funds and trust, and that funds are used for the sponsorship program. So based on the current funding that we've received, that is the number of slots that we can extend to every developing country who's a full member, because that's also a requirement. But in addition to developing countries that are full members of ISO, we also provide for correspondent and subscriber members to access the sponsorship program as part of a new rights program that exists. So that's very much, where DEFCO, Chair's Advisory Group, came in with deciding on the number of 5. It's set by the Chair's Advisory Group of DEFCO. Then the question on the economic benefits of standards. This was an important piece of work for us. Just a little bit of context around that. ISO has a methodology that was adopted about 2 years ago on how to calculate the economic benefits of standards in your economy. This methodology was developed based on similar work that a number of our members did, mostly from developed economies. Economies such as the United Kingdom, the United States, France, Germany, many of the Nordic countries as well. And we took all those different methodologies that they used and actually realized that there's a lot of similarities in how they approached it. and then we worked with an economics faculty at the university to come up with an ISO methodology that was adopted 2 years ago. It's on the ISO website. What we didn't know was this methodology that was mostly applied in developed economies, would this also work in developing economies? So we invited all our developing country members to apply, and 6 members were selected from different regions and different sizes. So high and middle income developing economies, but also 2 least developed economies. In other words, very small economies. The good news is we've worked with a consultancy firm. We applied the methodology over a 6-month period. It's quite intense. It takes a lot of work to apply the methodology. The good news is you can apply this methodology in all countries. The key consideration, though, is to do with the availability of accurate data. To run the methodology, we need approximately 20 years of accurate statistics, both from the national standards body. We mostly look at figures such as the stock of standards and how that's grown, the sale of standards, certification, etc. But then we also look at national economic data, labor productivity, GDP growth, etc. So in 2 of the countries where we applied it, we couldn't fully apply the methodology because of what the economists said, paucity of data. So we do require accurate data to run it. Without now oversimplifying the methodology, it looks at the stock of standards and the growth, and looks at, as I said, various economic growth indicators and bring those together. And there's a positive correlation that we found between the growth in the stock of standards. So it's not a particular standard, it's the overall stock of standards in the country, and labor productivity and GDP growth. But I invite you to have a look at the ISO website. The methodology, a booklet and explanation is available on the website. We've also added a link about a month ago to all the 6 country studies that we did last year for the members who applied. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And we have 2 more questions come. So, okay. I cannot see your name tag, but please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Maxine here from ECOS. I have a question on your initiative on standards for sustainability. And of course, I'd like to know, especially for the developing countries and specifically for Africa, so what has been the reach? Which kinds of experts are you already engaging in? Because you mentioned that you are trying to also capacity build experts to work on these standards. And also, what kind of partners are you also working with within Africa? Because you mentioned that through the capacity building is not only from an ISO initiative, but you're also working with other partners as well. And how can we engage in such a process? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe there I will need Eric's overview, because I'm not sure we have started with Africa yet. We started for sure with Latin America last year, but Eric is ready to complement.
Chair, if I can come in on the question. Thank you for the question. The Standards for Sustainability program is one of our flagship programs. And as Patrick said, it was launched a little bit more than a year ago in response to a needs assessment survey that we did that focused on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the priorities that members identified under the 3P framework of people, planet, and prosperity. We started with a rollout of the program last year. The first region was Central Asia and Eastern Europe, and we focused on energy management. We also followed that up last year, as Patrick said, in Latin America with Bolivia in particular. The Standards for Sustainability program looks at a whole range of activities around sustainability. The big part of it would be the training of trainers. So we work with the relevant ISO technical committees. In the case of energy management, it was the responsible TC. The TC leadership identified experts that helped us to develop the training material for doing the training of trainers. We worked with our members. Our members did the identification of the experts from the public sector, private sector, civil society, based of course on the standard that we're looking at. So we rely on our members because they're on the ground. They're working with the public and the private sectors to identify the experts that we need to train. The second part after we do the training of trainers is then to support those trainees to actually roll out, implement the standards concerned in organizations with a preference to SMEs. We know that in most countries, including many developing countries, the biggest job creator would be SMEs. So we try to focus very much on SMEs. Now I can give you the example of Central Asia and Eastern Europe. As I said, we focused on energy management. We trained the trainers last year, and then we supported them to apply those standards. In the case of, for example, North Macedonia, the energy management standard was rolled out in a metals company, but also in a chain of women-owned supermarkets. And not only do we roll out the standards, we actually work with the experts and the trainers to measure what is the result that you get from rolling out those standards in those organizations, including the SMEs. And we're actually starting to get some of the case studies from the work of last year in at the moment. What we then did secondly was to roll it out in East Africa, so very much where you are at the moment. We had a training of trainers session with 5 East African countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia. We would work with our members, the NSBs, to identify experts and SMEs to roll out, and we focused on food safety, because food safety was the number one priority for East Africa. So we completed the training of trainers about 2 months ago in Dar es Salaam. So the ISO member in Tanzania hosted the session. As I said, we had people from across the region. To answer your question, it's very much we work with the members. We allocate a number of slots, and we rely on our members to then identify their own staff, but also external stakeholders that should participate in the program. With the East Africa Food Safety Initiative, we're actually now working with the trainees who went through the training of trainers to apply the standards in select SMEs, and hopefully in the next 2-3 months we'll start getting in the case studies from those regions. So the plan is to take the priorities of different regions. We're working with 7 developing country regions across the world, and to roll out the priority standards in each of the regions with a select number of members, with the trainees that they identify. But the key for us to really demonstrate the benefit that the standards will actually bring.
Thank you, Eric.
Gillian Bank from ECC
Online.
Canada.
Okay.
Thank you for taking my question, and thank you very much for a very comprehensive presentation. My question is specific to the new project on the societal benefits of standards, and I'm wondering if you can give us a little bit more information about when that resource might be available, what the scope of it is. I'm particularly interested because I am working on standards for aging societies. We have a group in that technical committee dealing with metrics, and it is a very big challenge for us. This would be an amazing resource to help us in terms of promoting those standards and getting those standards used. Thank you very much.
Eric, do you want to take it directly?
Sure, let me come in. Thank you for your question, and I'm really glad about what you said, the work that you're undertaking and the linkage with the societal benefits work. And this is certainly something that we've seen over the past 2-3 years as well. Members looking for guidance in terms of how do we capture, the societal, because we really often look at the economic benefits, but the societal benefits that standards bring as well. And this led to the launch of this project last year. We are working with an international consultancy firm, with Ernst & Young. It's a fairly big project. It's done by the ISO research unit and capacity building. And what we did, Jeannie, is to again go back to the SDGs, the 3P framework. So what we did is, under people, planet and prosperity, we identified one key thematic area under each of those. So we are looking at tourism related to prosperity. We're looking at energy management from a planet perspective. And then for people, we're looking at food safety. And we've asked members to apply, to participate in the study. So we went through a selection process. So we've identified one member for each of those areas. We will work with a consultant to map the societal benefits of standards methodology. It will be looking at a number of filters. We will be looking at health, we'll be looking at welfare, we'll be looking at the environmental dimension. So there's about, it depends on each of the 3Ps, but there's about 3 or 4 filters of societal benefits that we'll be looking at for each of the 3. And the whole idea is we'll look at a specific thematic area in a specific country, develop a case study around the societal benefits, but more than that, we would like to use that experience to develop a general methodology that can be applied by all members, by stakeholders, regardless of the sector or the thematic area. So the whole idea is to come up with a methodology. We will be getting the first draft reports and methodologies towards the end of this year, and by the end of April next year, we hope to publish the finalized methodologies as well as the case studies to demonstrate how they were actually applied this year in practice. But it's an initiative that we are very excited about to capture the benefits at the societal level that international standards bring.
Thank you, Eric. We already passed the 10, but because of importance, do you have any urgent last question for Eric and Patrick? Yes, please.
Thank you. That was all very interesting, and it really wasn't a question, but just more a comment for awareness. We've currently got a piece of research that's been commissioned in the UK that's looking at societal benefit as well, and we're talking to consumer organisations, advocacy groups, regulators and enforcement agencies that are all working in the space of consumer protection to understand better how they're using standards in ways that we might not be aware of to benefit society. And as part of that work, we are developing a set of case studies as well to illustrate what we found in that research. It is underway at the moment. We'll have some top-line findings for that over the coming month, and of course we'd be happy to share that more widely and help that feed into other work if that's of interest.
Eric and Patrick, you wanna?
No, thank you very much. We will be very happy to receive it and to promote it, of course, because it's of a common interest.
Okay. I'm afraid that we have to close this section. Thank you very much. I hope that this must be a good chance for better understanding of capacity building projects. But still, we have many questions want to discuss, but we'll leave it by now. So thank you, Eric, for joining the discussion, and Patrick, thank you so much for 3 days.
Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Recording stopped.
Now, let's move to agenda item 5, back to yesterday, that we will have a secretary report. So I'll take over to Christina.
Thank you very much.
So this is the Secretariat report. You have already in your papers the written report. Next slide, Adrian, please. What I'm going to highlight here, a few elements that are already in the report related to the follow-up that the Secretariat did after the last year plenary. The plenary hosted in May last year by our Indian member body. Some elements about the policy and governance activities, what the Secretariat did in terms of outreach and promotion. Of course, some elements about the leadership transition and what else happened in terms of membership and other publication and projects. So I will start with the plenary follow-up. In your documents, you have a document with all the resolutions that were taken last year, and for the resolutions where a follow-up was needed, you have there a written follow-up. So I'm not going to go in details through that, but if when I finish the presentation you have questions related to the follow-up, by all means please ask. So we have communicated a great deal with our members about updates, governance decisions, and committee consultation for vote, including most recently the outcomes of CIBs on consumer product and service information and guidance or online sustainability claims in e-commerce. We coordinated quite heavily with the governance, ISO governance group for the appointment of the acting chair and call for nomination for the future chair. As you know, the call for nomination for future COPOLCO chair has been closed. The decision will be taken in June during the council meeting. So the council will appoint the new COPOLCO chair, and of course we will inform you in due course. The Secretariat is actively involved in working with the acting chair and with the conveners and co-conveners of the working groups to orient activities and provide support for their work, especially towards their work towards ISO sustainability goals and promoting the involvement of underrepresented stakeholders. In addition, we are actively supporting the coordination of the PDC chairs. They do have at least 3 meetings a year. The 3 PDC chairs, DEFCO, CASCO, and COPOLCO, meet at least three times a year, usually before the council meeting, in order to coordinate position, to discuss elements of mutual interest, to find synergies, and also plan joint activities. So the Secretariat supports these meetings. There is also a meeting that has been instituted 2 years ago, maybe last year, 2 years ago, between the ISO president and the PDC chairs. This meeting usually happens during the council week, meaning 3 times a year. There is one coming up for June, and the Secretariat is supporting this meeting too. Next slide, please. In terms of policy and governance activities, of course, we are all here. As you can imagine, there was a lot of coordination done by the Secretariat together with our hosts, which I take the opportunity to thank for an extraordinary collaboration. We also worked with other units in ISO CS to organize this meeting. So we provided support to the acting chair and for the meetings that are happening during the council week. They happened in June and September 2023 and in February 2024. There was a panel discussion that happened in 2023 during the ISO annual meeting. It was focused on circular economy. It was a panel discussion where the 3 PDC chairs addressed the participants at the DEFCO plenary. As you know, DEFCO plenary is happening during the ISO annual meeting. Another thing that I would like to stress here is the new liaison that we have, ECOS, and we have here a representative. Thank you for being here. We welcome ECOS as a new liaison. You've been informed of that in due course, but I just wanted to highlight this here. Next slide, please. In terms of representation and outreach, you heard already from Patrick and from Adrian the mentorship workshop that took place in July in 2023 in Ecuador. There was a lot of work done previous to this workshop to improve the program. This has been done in collaboration with capacity building, and we will continue to evaluate and improve this program. As Patrick and Eric were saying, there will be a new reiteration of the program for a different region next year. Julie Hunter, that is here, she represented COPOLCO at the annual event, UNCTAD IGE annual meeting, and she talked there about ISO's activities related to sustainability and, of course, from the perspective of consumers. Thank you, Julie, for representing COPOLCO at that event. The COPOLCO Secretariat conducting several activities to interested TCs to promote our work and to encourage representation of consumers in the respective TC to make them understand a little bit more how it works, why and how. We continue to engage with the implementation of the engagement policy, regional engagement policy. The Secretariat continues to send updates that are presented during the regional engagement meetings. These are meetings happening every month with all 4 regions, so each region has a meeting each month. We are quite active there. The chair also presented, the Secretariat sends updates. So we try to use that, this avenue of the regional engagement meetings to have meaningful updates given to members and also to listen from the members. Next slide, please. Leadership transition. There was quite heavy coordination with the governance for the transition of the leadership. Moon has taken over, stepped up, and was appointed by the council as the acting chair. Of course, we contributed to the call for nomination, sending it to all our members, and we are awaiting the decision from the council, which we will communicate as soon as we find out from the council. And as you know, following the appointment of the new chair, there will be the appointment of a vice chair and the appointment of a new CAG as per regular procedure, so you will all know in due course when these activities are happening. Next one, World Consumer Rights Day. This has been as regular activity celebrated by CI. It was, we participated in that celebration. There was a video address given by the ISO Secretary General. Of course, the Secretariat developed a script with the help of ISO com services. You can find that address on our website. We informed you back then when that was available. So we also reached out to COPOLCO members about World Consumer Rights Day, drawing your attention to CI's campaigns and research on their website. We were also deeply involved in supporting the ISO Secretary General for his participation in the CI Global Forum that took place here in Nairobi in November 2023. He participated in a panel discussion as key speaker, and then he had a number of bilateral meetings with CI members and especially with board members of CI. And I see Rose here, so thank you very much. It was quite an interesting interaction. Sergio was very pleased with all the discussion that he was able to have there. Next slide. Working group activities. So as you know, we have 4 working groups plus the CAG, and they are all supported by the Secretariat. There were meetings of this working group as per the regular schedules. CAG also met in the beginning of this year. And each working group held 2 meetings over the past year in addition to the CAG meetings. And you will hear more about the work that is happening in the working groups from the reports given by the conveners and co-conveners. Next slide. Publication and projects, COPOLCO website. The priority is to make publicly available information easily accessible and understandable to all COPOLCO members and their stakeholders. There are several projects in the pipeline. We continue to coordinate and plan for these projects. So you've seen already, I hope, Getting Started, which is available now on ISO Work. It has been revised. And COPOLCO at a Glance, also available on iso.org. And also you have it in your conference materials. And hopefully coming soon, a dedicated COPOLCO website. This is still in discussion. I hope that it will happen before the next plenary, but I don't have a firm timeline for it. Just to inform you that we are indeed working on it. Next slide. A proposal of new projects and areas of work. I'm not going to insist on that. I think you already know that the Secretariat is supporting various initiatives, and you have all this outlined in the report. In terms of membership, as of May 2024, we have 132 members, out of which 79 are P members and 53 OMI members. I would like to welcome our newest member, which is ANM from Benin. And with that, I conclude my presentation and happy to take any questions that you may have online or here in the room. Yes, Julie, please.
Thank you, Christina. I just wanted to follow up on the item in your report on privacy by design, because I know that a lot of discussion has been had around this. BSI supported the proposal for a separate technical committee on privacy by design, and I know that the TMB recommendation has been to create a subcommittee under ISO JTC1 with an ad hoc group deciding how this work will be taken forward. As you all know, this was a really important standard for consumers, which BSI proposed and drove forward through COPOLCO. And I believe that the reason for the success of this standard was that it had a very strong consumer representation on ISO PC 317, around 15% consumer stakeholder representation, I think. BSI are just concerned that if this group is merged under JTC1, the consumer voice could be weakened, and so we are strongly supporting that a separate committee is set up for consumer protection related to privacy by design, so that we can maintain a strong consumer stakeholder voice. So I understand that the decision is still to be made under the JTC1 ad hoc group, but I just wanted to point out that concern there, that we are worried about the consumer voice being weakened, because there was 15% consumer representation on ISO PC 317, but I believe it's less than 1% or 0% on JTC1. And this is a very, very important area for consumers. With the amount of digital technology there is now, privacy is incredibly important, and we must maintain a strong consumer voice. Thank you.
Any other questions? So I understand. I don't think that you expect anything right now.
No.
Julie, we note this in the minutes, and
Yes.
of course it's a decision from the TMB that it's still.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we can influence as much as possible, but in the end it's TMB decision. And for JTC1 related to the concern about consumers, the Secretariat presented to JTC1, we had the opportunity to be given a spot, and we presented explaining the importance of consumer participation. And I have to say they are quite open to have a good collaboration with us and to bring as much as possible the support from us to them in order to bring consumers. So they are aware, they understand. So let's see how they are going to deal now that they will have in their portfolio this standard that it's quite heavily about consumer interest.
Thank you. I mean, if it could be noted and then also maybe discussed under Working Group 22.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, we'll note this. Any other question? I saw before anyone online? No. So Sadie, please.
Sorry, I just want to note a positive under 7.5 menstrual products. I note that this committee proposed by Sweden and supported through COPOLCO on this important matter has received a 3-year funding grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think that this is very interesting for COPOLCO because it's very important topic for consumers. And also, I was interested maybe if Magnus is online from CIS, maybe he can provide a little more information now or by communication about how this funding was achieved and how consumers can get access to it, and maybe for the capacity building and in general CAG could look at this as a way of supporting consumer-focused future work.
Magnus is online. Can we change the image and the sound?
Thank you, Sadie. We'll see. Does he want to add something, or he prefers to send details later?
Magnus is
yeah.
online, and we just have to activate its sound.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We cannot hear you. Just a second. Can you put the sound on? Okay. Can you say something now?
Yes, please. Yes, it was a very happy moment when we got the information that we have received money from that foundation. So I don't know all the details. I know that it will be used to engage various stakeholders, part of the money, part of the funding. But I would like to send more detailed information later, if that's possible. But it's a very good. Was very good decision that we got from them. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Magnus.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other question from the room or from online? No. If not, then I will give the floor back to Moon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. As the BSI mentioned, most of new work item proposal developed by COPOLCO members turning out to be project committee. So not the technique. Sometimes it goes to the existing technical committee. But we need to think about various ways that we achieve new standards can benefit consumers. Developing project committee or using existing technical committee, or we suggesting development of new technical committees. because many issues like privacy by design in digitalized market as a digital consumers is very broad enough, too broad enough to putting in one very specific technical committee. And for the working group 24, they are working on the second-hand goods, but it's not only about the safety, it's about relevant information issues and hygienic issues, many relevant issues to consumers. So that's why we're trying to think about various ways making our efforts. If it's better to work on developing technical committee or project committee or using technical committee. So let's open all choices. It's not easy, like explained. It's not easy, but let's think about efficient way that we achieve our goals. So that's one comment that I want to share. And I'd like to move on to item 8, Working Group 23, Capacity Building and Training Group Report. So I'd like to invite co-convener Sarah James and Moses Mujita. Please.
Before we give the floor to the Working Group 23 conveners to do their reporting from last year, I would like to remind you that all our 4 working groups are policy working groups. They are permanent working groups, and therefore we accept your nomination at any time, not only during the plenary or after the plenary. If you feel like one of the projects that will be outlined in the reports speaks to you, you have the desire to participate on them, please do so by enrolling in those working groups. Procedures are simple. You should go through your NSB. However, if you feel like it's too complicated, you can just write to COPOLCO@iso.org, and we will walk you through the process. We're pretty pleased to guide you if you're having difficulties to get enrolled. And without further ado, I will give the floor to the 2 co-conveners of the Working Group 23, Sarah James and Moses Mutsiva. Hold on, I just need to share the screen. I cannot do 2 things at once, apparently.
Okay. Good morning, fellow consumers. Nice to present to you what we've been doing under Working Group 23. My name is Moses Musitwa. I hail from Uganda. I'm a co-convener in Working Group 23 with my counterpart, who will also introduce ourselves at an appropriate time. We are basically going to share with this meeting what our working group has been able to achieve in the last about a year or so, and what we think things are going to be. First is going to be the terms of reference that we have. The terms of reference focus on the scope, mandate, and the aims of the group, and also the execution. Under the mandate, we basically have identified and addressed challenges that consumers from participating faced while participating in the standards development. We are also able to create, we should be able to create and provide training and capacity building activities to to the COPOLCO members, but the other part shall be raising awareness on the ISO members. The aims is greatly to build members' capacity to engage with the COPOLCO, enhance members' ability to perform on the national outreach, and also to enhance consumer representatives' ability to participate. Under the execution, we are basically trying to develop specific standard training materials, events, networking, and the opportunities. Just to give a summary of what happens in Working Group 23, we've had 2 working group meetings, both virtual. The membership has been having 45 representing members and then 1 representing liaison institution. And the countries are also shown on the left of the screen, which basically shows how the participation has been moving while we were working. I'm asking my counterpart also to present and share responsibility.
Hujambo, habari za subuhi. Good morning, everyone. So my part is I'm going to explain on what is actually our work programs. So first of all, as you can see, this is actually a mentorship program that we started in Quito, Ecuador. We have excellent participation from 29 mentees from 13 countries, supported by 7 mentors. And next mentorship program, I need a drum roll, is it? Okay, it's planned for the region of Arabic countries in 2025 with the support of ISO capacity building under the direct coordination of Patrick Micheli. And second is on network events. We have 2 training sessions that we held on 21st of May, the first day of plenary. And also empowering consumers, engaging the development of circular and sustainable trade standards, which we got together in person and also online, consumer representatives and also NSB representatives to exchange information. Yesterday's session is really engaging, and I saw a lot of members here benefited, and you contributed your ideas, and even the mentors are really impressed with the engagement. And the third one is actually WG. We developed a thematic session delivered during our regional monthly forums with ISO members. The value of consumer participation in standardization. So the session was aiming to equip ISO members with practical ways to better engage with consumers in their countries. And other important projects that I would like to share here is actually updating training materials, which Moses was talking about, especially the digital learning module. You have seen yesterday, Dr. Moon was sharing, but that is quite outdated. And we also want to be captured, this toolbox or the digital learning module to be captured in our new website of ISO COPOLCO so that members can, benefit from it. And we also planning to develop a training toolbox for consumer representatives, especially to learn about ISO processes, basic technical knowledge on key areas, and as well as the best practices for when you're participating in WG meetings. And we also like to identify other training needs for NSBs or consumer representatives, especially on the contemporary issues, such as the circular economy that we're talking about, And this is also to echo what Sadie was saying earlier, emphasizing earlier. We should also think about, regional and also the country-based capacity building and training activities. So I will go back to our WG23, bring this matter up, to discuss, and we'll come up with a work plan that, fits basically for the regional and also the country. And of course, to make this happen, we need more experts in the specific areas that we are focusing on, and necessary resources. So this is something that WG23 might want to consider bringing together. Next slide, please. Okay, and we have very ambitious work programs, although it appears the membership is numerous, but we're still short of resources to put in practice the ideas generated so far by the members based on their needs. So as you can see, if you are an experienced mentor, someone who knows how to engage consumers, and you are great of making educational content, of course, come and join us. And we need skills and enthusiasms to make this program as a success. And plus, if you have ability to creating educational materials, we have many members yesterday showing, their Facebook and how they are uploading the educational materials like videos into their Facebooks, So if you can contribute that kind of expertise, you're most welcome to join us, in providing practical and engaging, social medias, videos, or multimedia or interactive content that we could use your help in developing new training materials or resources. We are also focusing on promoting or promotion and feedback, and we need help of promoting WG23. And
recording in progress.
And we need people to help us to promote WG23. I think most of you don't know Moses or me and WG23 before, and maybe you knew us after the mentorship program, and that means a lack of promotion, I guess, and also feedback. Where do you have to do feedback? So in conclusion, I'd like to do a conclusion here. Everybody here knows about capacity building and training is actually essential for consumer organization in providing standardization or equip themselves in standardization. So these initiatives, of course, enhance their knowledge and confidence, enabling effective participation. And maybe effective participation because you can initiate discussion or maybe advocacy for consumers' interests, informed decision making and collaboration with stakeholders. And of course, this will ensure consumer representatives are represented in standards development. So 2% coverage of consumer organization is definitely too low through the mentorship program. And WG23 will work together with capacity building unit, and we'll work together to utilize the available resources that Patrick Micheli was showing us, and we start making it accessible to consumers, organization which can benefit effectively. So for those that are interested in joining us, you can contact me or Moses or even Adrian Popa. And thank you very much for listening. Sorry, any questions?
Any question online?
Yes.
No no questions online.
Thank you. Sorry to keep intervening, but I give nothing away. BSI will be hosting next year, but we announce it officially later. But I would just talk about the Consumers and Standards Partnership for a Better World. Because, of course, this was a project led by Dana Kissinger-Matre. She was she was leading this work and made it happen all these years ago. And I was working at Consumers International at the time, and we collaborated. CI, I assisted on developing this project, along with past chair Caroline Warren, who was very active and supportive of this initiative. Of course, it was many years ago when digital was just beginning, and we even had the information on CD disc, because at the time people weren't getting access to online very easily or like cost effectively for the consumer organizations. But I would just give a commitment from BSI and from myself to assist. I see Rose is leading the task group, and she is on the counter of CI. I think it's very important for CI to have a co-branding to make sure this reaches all the right people. But I'm just congratulating you in all your hard work and efforts. It's very impressive. But I would like to offer you my assistance in this particular project, having developed it before.
Thank you, Sadie, for bringing this one up. I just want to mention that currently we do have a call for participation for this task force. And Sadie is the first one, and BSI is the first one to join Rose into that task force. Everybody that has knowledge and interest in developing such a training material, it's welcome to join. The work of COPOLCO doesn't stop at the end of the plenary. The working groups continue throughout the year, and between the working group meetings, which are 2 or 3 a year, there are task force that needs to carry on. They are the engine of COPOLCO. We strongly encourage you to join those task forces that are being created in the working groups and help the conveners carrying forward the work. In this case, it's Rose, but there are other task forces that are created in Working Group 23, and we are encouraging people to join. Thank you. Thanks for bringing this one up. Julie?
Yes, Julie. Thank you. I just want, I'm referencing section 2.8 in your report. Thank you for your report. I note that you say CAG is currently working on a procedure for determining the priorities. I'm a member of CAG. But I think we need to focus here on helping NSBs to make their own decisions about what their priorities are, because that will be different in different countries. I just wanted to share what we do in the Consumer and Public Interest Network. When we have requests come in for new work, we have a toolkit for prioritizing work, which is based on the level of consumer detriment, existing protection from other sources, whether that's legislation, regulation, and how much of an influence or an impact we feel a consumer rep could have. And I think a tool for helping NSBs, consumer decide on where to put their consumer representation would be really very useful. And if there's anything that CPIN can do to help with that as well, I would be happy to participate or provide any information. Thank you.
Great, Julie. This is an excellent news, but that fits better under the CAG because we do have this task assigned to the CAG to determine what are the priorities for the consumer participation, and it will be cascaded down to all working groups, including working group 22, 24, and 23. Of course, 21 as well for the communication. Great, thank you. We will reach out to SIPIN.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Alice Kemto from Consumer Grassroots Association, Kenya. First, I want to appreciate this meeting because this is my first meeting and our first meeting from our organization to join you in this quest. And I want to thank KEPS for inviting us. I'm so passionate about training because once you train and you embark, then you are able to see transformation. So for this reason, I just want to pose a question. So what are your projections? Much as we agree that the uptake is low, the percentage is low at the moment, what is your projection that at such and such a time you are looking at achieving ABCD percentage of the people, the consumers that have been reached? Secondly, can we have the work plan made available so that those interested like us can join? And a recommendation maybe in the event we may not be able to join is that when the training materials are being, when you are coming up with the training materials, ensure that you localize, you try as much as possible for this to make sense to the grassroots consumer, because if we really want to have reach, then we need to take into considerations the diversity that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the comment. We took note on your request, and even though we have around 45 members, every time we call for meeting, because of time difference, it's a bit difficult, to make this happen. But somehow we listen to your comments and we try to engage everyone. And second thing on the work plan availability, actually we have, and we do share within our WG23 members, and it's actually at the back of the report, if you could see. And also on the training materials, a very good point that you are highlighting that we need to target the grassroots consumers. So we will take those and we will discuss within our WG23 members, and thank you for the comment.
Thank you, Working Group 23 co-conveners. Now it's the break time, right? So Dana?
Thanks. Just a quick note. We're taking a break now, but I wanted already to tell you that before the lunch break, we'd like to gather for a group photo. Not at this break, but before the lunch break. So for this break, it's just outside, and it's now just before 11 o'clock, and we will break for 20 minutes.